back when everyone thought Nvidia and the yen were gonna implode the market, and we're actually we went below that for whatever reason you wanna say, but nice little bounce. We'll see if it holds, obviously, because it hasn't. But we shall see. Best to keep your plays short, and not like go too crazy on margin or just small ball.
There's ways we can. We need a lot of assets in mining. There's ways you can recycle those assets throughout the process in order to reduce it.
All right, mute that. Isn't it supposed to auto mute people? I don't know what
I think you're in the wrong one. Like the stream one is, I think, where people get auto muted and only mods can talk. And then
all right, well, just kindly don't make any noise if you can help it. Keep the questions rolling. I'm just up here to be up here. Obviously, if you guys haven't already checked out Periscope, definitely check it out. Auto refresh. We got any word on that, Albert?
I will probably fix it on the weekend. So then, like on Monday, we have auto refresh going, or Tuesday. I was just like busy with other stuff.
I've never been a huge Gex person, but today I had a spicy little long scalp off of Periscope. So next week I'm going to do that live to put out for people to watch as well.
Sweet. There you have it. The one person who is okay, that's not Spoon. I was gonna say the one person who kept adding me for streams was Spoon, and he's not even here. All right, so we have another question. It's what's the flow looking like for next Friday? So like, I mean, that's like you're asking how's it looking, right? Like, how's it just looking, right? Because like, whatever happens Monday, it could go up, it could go down. By Friday, it could be higher, it could be lower. You know what I mean? Hard to say. No, but it's a good question to ask. Just like now it doesn't really. You're not really asking a whole lot. Kind of the same way when people ask, people say like, "What's the flow on XYZ?" Right? So like, if someone says, "What's the flow on XYZ?" They're pretty much like, what are they really asking? They're really asking, is it going up or is it going down? Right? That's what they're really asking. So like, how would I answer what's the flow on XYZ looking like right now? Let's just I guess we'll take Tesla for an example. Even though Tesla is just like notoriously, it's just going to do whatever it wants to do. But like just using it as an example, so if we look at the net premium chart, we see puts down, calls they're basically flat, right? So we can just say, and they've been flat pretty much all day. So I'd say today we're not really seeing a whole bunch. This doesn't really suggest a direction, I guess. I mean, there's negative puts. So actually, let's just start with the calls. So there's basically no call activity, right? So like there, you can just kind of reason that there's not a whole bunch of money betting on it to go up, or rather, maybe people think it's too expensive and they don't want to pay. Whatever. There's not a whole bunch of call activity. There's bid side put activity, which could be many things. So all we know for certain is that when the line goes down, it's because it's bid side activity. When the line goes up, it's because it's ask side activity. So in the case of the puts, mostly bid side. So what does that mean? So that just means that they're filling at the bid, right? That doesn't actually tell us if they're being bought, sold, bought to open, sold to open, whatever. It just says that they're at the bid. So you can reason. Hopefully, maybe they're closing long puts that they already own, or maybe they're writing new ones. Who knows? So that's one way I might look at it. So based on this, if you ask me what's the flow looking like, I'd say maybe like neutral. Like I don't think there's any. It doesn't look like there's money betting on like, you know, anything like a big drop, I guess, anytime soon. Like, so if you looked at this, I think a drop is like maybe the last thing that you might see from this. I mean, it could happen, right? But just from this, it doesn't really look that bearish. I'm not saying it looks bullish, but it doesn't look bearish. So that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it might be individual contracts that have activity on them. So like, for instance, maybe this isn't a good example. Give me 1 second to pull up my other monitor here and pull up like a filter. I guess we could just like kind of build one. Let's just build one. So like, so when you think about options flow, or the characteristics of flow, like what do we like? All right, so like if you look at any kind of flow that I post in flow discussions or Twitter or anywhere else, they all generally look. It's just like a bunch of it's low. It's low open interest. It's high volume. There's an open interest. There's a ratio there. You know, it's either all or mostly ad side activity, or all or mostly bid side activity. So clearly opening stuff, so that like, you know, we have at least, we never know for certain if they're buying or selling, but we at least have the fact that it's opening. Okay, so we have that at least. So like in the case of this doesn't really tell us a whole lot. You know, there's 2,200 volume, give or take the same open interest. I had a tweet. Let me pull it up. The little shitty MS Paint thing. If I can find it. So it looks like this. Not all volume is the same. 10,000 volume, 10,000 volume, a singular large candle, 10,000 volume spread out across the day. So like, you know, it's different. So look for the look for the, you know, the activity that's kind of bunched up together. So like this, I'm not saying this specifically, nothing in the presets, not all the stuff that hits the presets will be like, it's not gonna all hit, but like these are like, at least these will definitely at least mostly have some characteristics that you're gonna want to look for. So in the case of this, I'm not saying it's interesting or not, but you know, at least it's 15,000 volume in a singular hit against 32 open interest, right? This one maybe not so much, because it's, you know, it is 7,000 volume, but it's like 4,600 open interest. So the ratio is not great, I guess. Let's see what else. Like I don't recall too much crazy interesting stuff today. But I guess like let's just build a screener. So like the option screener is, so where the flow feed, if I reset it to just raw data, these are just individual transactions, right? So the option screener takes, so where the flow feed, each line is a individual trade. In the option screener, each line is a individual contract. So so people ask, that they might say like, oh, I don't see the trade in the screener. It's because the screener is not for individual trades. It's for like the activity on a ticker as a whole. So like if I want to look at, so like the most basic way I can explain it, right? So if you want to look at all contracts that have 10,000 volume, you just type in 10,000 right there, and then you can see all contracts with 10,000 volume. Maybe for right now, what I want to do is maybe too much, so I'll just delete that. So like, let's just say if we want to try to screen for contracts that are quote unquote, if we're trying to find buy activity, let's just assume that as side activity is generally buy activity. So let's just say we're looking for contracts that are like, I don't know, 70% ask side activity. I mean, let's just look for calls just for the sake of, you know, we're tired of the market going down. Let's just look for calls. I'm not saying you should just only look for calls, right? You should probably look for both, but like just for the sake of this, we'll just look for calls. So all contracts currently, all contracts across the whole market that have 70% ask side activity that are calls. What else can we add? We can add definitely, at the very least, we need more volume than open interest. But that doesn't always help us so much because, like, let's say, like right here, we have 12,000 volume, 12,000 open interest. So, like, at a glance, it doesn't really tell us for sure if it's being opened or not, as opposed to something like this, where it's like 15,000 to 4. Like, for sure, this is opening activity. So, what else could we do here? Let's do, at the very least, let's do like 2,500 volume. Premium, we can do like, I don't know, we'll do like 250K. Oh yeah, multi-leg. So we don't want, it's not a bad thing to have, but like just for the sake of simply looking at it and having like a decently clear idea of what's going on, let's just cap it at like 20% maybe. Okay, so that's not actually leaving us too many results. Maybe I'll open it up a little bit here. All right, let's get rid of ETFs. We'll just look for stocks. All right, so these are just stocks. Okay, so all contracts across the whole stock market currently, we'll sort it by volume. All contracts that are just stocks, more volume than open interest. So if you just look, this number on the left is bigger than number on the right. Check. Ask percentage 70%. Calls 1,000 volume. Check. 250K traded. Check. Maximum 20% of the contracts, or yeah, a maximum of 20% of all volume is from a multi-leg trade. Again, multi-leg trades aren't bad. Just something to look for. There's a YouTube video we just dropped about them. Check it out. All right, so if I click into like, actually, let's add one more. Again, these are just arbitrary numbers. Don't like, you'll have to fiddle with these numbers. These are just some random numbers that we're just throwing in right now. Let's put this to 1.5. That's so 1.25. All right, so now I know for sure. I know for certain a lot of these things that I click here, are like they've already been shared in the Discord. So like, I know this one asked for sure. So like in the case of this, like 66,000. I guess I'll just click hold the candle. So we see the candle volume 41,000. The candle before had a little bit. So 41,000 right here. You'll most definitely see the open interest jump quite a bit here. I believe like a few people on Twitter posted that one. So if I just click into any one of these contracts, you'll probably see similar activity. So pins, probably all opening activity. You'll probably see 10,000 open interest come Monday. CSX, another singular candle. So I'm not saying the remember, they could all easily be sells. You can't just tell by looking at the candle. You got to click into it. So like, let's click into this FCX and see what the actual tape looked like. It's kind of hard to click the 1 minute candle. So like, maybe you might need to go to 5. So when you click on the candle, you get just the raw tape, right? So I'm seeing every single transaction, which isn't super helpful. So like, let's kick it up to, I don't know, 5K at least. Take a look at the feed, maybe expand this to 250. Maybe I'll kick it up to like 10K. Okay, so like we're seeing, okay, so I guess there was some activity before. I'll do 50. Okay, so we're seeing the 10 minutes prior to noon for this specific contract. Maybe I'm not seeing it. All right. What was going on here? Average volume. Okay, yeah, never mind. So there was a big cross trade or something or other. So we see in this 10-minute span, but really in this like 1 minute 20 span, the volume go from like 3,500 all the way up to 54K. Here's the big ask side fill that probably tripped everyone's filters. We do see the ask increasing in the minute-ish preceding. What does the IV do? I need to toggle the IV on this particular view. All right. So, I mean, they start getting filled at like 83. So in this, actually, so like this 1 second is probably maybe the more interesting or the most interesting part. So, I mean, if I had to guess, so in this 1 minute here, or not 1 minute, this 1 second, they filled like what, 4K? Or never mind, yeah, 4K. So from like 3,500 volume, because this 3689 number includes 169. So subtract 169 from 3689. So that's like what, 3520. So 3,500 volume all the way up to 7,300. So what, 3,800 volume in 1 second. And in that second, they were, as the volume increases, so like, you know, chronologically, these are the ones getting filled first. The ask is being lifted. The IV is also increasing, which kind of, you know, up here, it's a little bit, I mean, I guess it's doing the same thing. I mean, maybe here, this 5617 line is a little strange because like it's going up, it's going down. But I don't know. I'm not like a commodity. I don't know shit about commodities. So maybe someone who does can add some color to that. But anyways, what else do we have here? The heck is Goggle? Golden Ocean Group. Nvidia. Probably see like 3,500 open interest maybe Monday. But I mean, again, who knows? So like, don't go too crazy on your swings. Obviously, when they, you know, obviously when you hit like a 2.5% Nasdaq day like today, you feel good. But if you've been doing that for the last like month, you probably haven't been feeling very good many days. So don't get too carried away with it. All right, sorry, completely ignored the chat here. Jason asked, do you ever look at the future GT on Periscope to get a feel? I've only been looking at the whole picture so far, and I'm also trying to learn it as well. So I don't want to answer too many questions and have you guys hang on my every word, because I can't like super confidently speak on it. NBev asked, top 3 long-term ads with this drawdown. What do we think? Jason says Amazon, Google, something else. All right, so like instead of just looking at the asks, now we can look at I guess we can look at puts as well. What puts are people dabbling in? Pretty decent chunk of forward puts traded yesterday as well. The 8.5 not covering earnings. Earnings is 423. What else we got? I saw someone just right now talking about pins. Pins, pretty decent volume. Again, not earnings. Well, I don't know if this data is confirmed or not. Earnings data is so sketch across the market. So shit, honestly. There's bearish, potentially bearish Nvidia play as well. Let's see the candle, just look at the tape. Pretty much a singular fill with no data changing. I mean, there's one different thing right here, but that's it. So looking at the tape doesn't really help you a whole lot here. Oh, it's also like pretty deeply in the money. So like honestly, just forget about it.
We have a request from YouTube to look at the SPY 480 put for the 21st.
Let's see. SPY for 21st of what?
This month.
21st, and what was the strike again?
480.
480.
Way down there.
So we do have. Yeah, go ahead.
They are confused about directionality given the split bid and ask on today's volume.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, look at that open interest.
Yep. So, so I guess, so this contract would not come up on probably most filters, given there's a few things going on here. So yes, indeed, it is a SPY 480 next week put being traded, but there's 168,000 open interest, so we don't know for certain if these are being opened. Whereas on the previous screener thing right here, if we just input just a few different data points, we can just easily come up with a screener that comes up that just shoots out these large, like so I mean this one's kind of shit, but like, you know, most of them will be, you know, the singular instance of large activity. So like this particular contract wouldn't fulfill that. It is split, so like, I mean, so I guess, I mean, the question still stands. It is still split, so like it's kind of hard to read, but we don't know for certain if it's being opened or closed. I guess what I'll say is check the open interest Monday morning, and see what it does. That's always a good exercise to do. So like, what if we were on stream yesterday? So I'll put this chart to what it looked like yesterday. So let me hide this line right here. So I'm gonna hide today's 2600 volume line. So right now we're looking at the chart for yesterday, for the SPY 480 next week. So this is Thursday's activity. So we see 5,000 volume, mostly at the bid. 50% of all contracts traded, 56% of all contracts traded were attached to another contract. So, like, you know, pretty unclear. But then the open interest does increase by just like a hair. So it's just like, it's hard to say. Like, it's hard to say what's going on. And I would like kind of shoo you away from looking at anything where there's this much of a gap in the volume and open interest. I don't know, like, so like I said earlier, I don't know if you were here when I was building this thing. I just said these numbers are kind of, they're arbitrary, right? So, you know, if you put a thing for 250,000, so if you put a filter for the minimum premium spent on the contract today being 250,000, you're going to miss a decent amount of stuff. So like, when I remember back in the day, and some of you guys may have even remembered this, if you guys have been around for this long, but way back in the day, there was like a ticker like Zynga. They're like a mobile app developer. I think they made like, I forget what games they made. Everyone who had a phone in like 2020 had a Zynga game on their phone. There was Zynga, and then there was BBBY. I think that was that Bed Bath and Beyond before it like went to shit. Yeah, so there was Zynga, and then there was Bed Bath and Beyond, like pretty clear insider shit. There's actually a YouTube video. If you go to our YouTube channel and scroll way back in the day, it was one of the first videos we put out. You'll be able to see it. So in that, let me get to my point here. In that instance, the premium spent on those very likely insider trades were like,
think your taxes are simple?
They were far under like 100K. There were some that were like 2K, 4K, stuff like that. So like, but we can't set a filter for 5K, right? Because then there's just going to be like way too much shit. So like, we have to draw a line somewhere. So where you draw that line is up to you. Yeah, where you draw the line is up to you. In the case of like some of these preset filters that we have for you guys, The minimum is set to like 10,000. So this is like per trade. So like, yes, you're gonna get a decent amount of trades here that don't amount to shit. Like this one, probably. Let's just look at a random one. So we have the master 260 next week. Let's just look at it. Yeah. So like, so this trade right here, yes, it is a $13,000 trade, which is significantly more money than I'm spending on, any given trade. So yeah, it is like, it is decent, but like when you actually look at what's going on here, no idea what's going on, right? But we have to draw the line somewhere. So 10K. I'd rather see I'd rather see extra stuff that I can just like immediately weed out with my eye as being nothing that I want to see. And also, I'd rather just self filter with my eyeballs. So like, let's look at another one. So like FSLR next week. I mean, FSLR has been killing everyone that's been playing options. So like, I don't know if I can really endorse this necessarily. But like, yeah, we do have, this one's like, you're gonna get the stuff that's way above 10K sometimes. Like this trade is 439K. What did the tape look like here? So the big fill took place at 54, leading up to it. Pretty wide. It's hard to say, honestly. Like I said, it's for killing people, and obviously, past results, future performance, blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, don't hold a grudge against it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, necessarily. But yeah, you got to draw the line somewhere. So I would say don't worry about this necessarily. Like a better example might be, let's try to find an example, I guess, where there's kind of like a split. Let's try like a 0.5 ask maybe. See if we got anything here. Probably can't do a 0 DTE. Let's see. Okay, so like, I mean, like in this case, it's not a singular candle that split. Oh, that was loud. It's not a singular candle, so maybe not a great example. All right, I'm going to mute you. All right. Not a good example. Oop, is that one all right? Maybe. Yeah, so I mean, I guess this one's like a pretty okay. This one's an okay example. Like, so they're not in the same candle, but they're like, so a lot of people see this and they instinctively think, ooh, one candle red, one candle green, sell, buy. But like, I don't really think people do that. I don't think people do that. So like people do scalp intraday. Don't get me wrong, but like and like theoretically, someone could have scalped. This filled at 29.40. This filled at 29.55. But like, you'll probably see the open interest. The open interest, I think, will go up a decent amount. So I mean, maybe not a great example. So yeah, it's not a great example. It's hard to just pull an example of this. But I guess if you were scared about this, I guess what I'm trying to get at is don't be scared. Like the market might go down 5%, but it's not going to go down to 480 probably next week. It might, but like it probably won't. And the probability is so low that you only have to pay 7 cents to find out. And the market is closed. Let's see here. COP. All right. COP. The COP 110. May 16. Call COP 110. What is COP? Is that like an energy thing?
ConocoPhillips.
Yes. So, how do I see what happened before that? It was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. Can I see that 2 volume before? Oh, it's because I have this. So it did indeed fill at or closer to the ask. However, it did not fill quite at the ask. So like, you know, the door to it not being a buy is like, you know, it's always ajar because it always could be. But the fact that it's on like a slightly widespread, and again, like I don't know anything about this energy. So I mean, like, you know, pretty sure energy has been coming out of Trump's mouth pretty frequently, energy related stuff. So who knows, you know? But yeah. Who's tagged me? Is this Spoon? I knew it. All right. If you guys have any last questions, feel free. I'm not in any rush to leave, but like just start asking if you have any. Earnings whisper asks, are there any certain volume sizes that can tell you what type of strategy is being taken, like on level 2? Not quite sure what you mean. Again, you don't know what positions anyone else is in. So if you guys check out the YouTube video, the most recent one regarding multi-leg trades, I make I give an example in which someone buys, you know, 10,000 contracts in the morning. Yeah. All right, thank you, Spoon. So someone buys like 10,000 contracts in the morning, and then let's say the ticker goes up all day, so now their contracts have made a shit ton of money. So now they say, okay, so I've bought 10,000 contracts. Let's say I bought 10,000 of the 100 strike contracts. Now I'm going to sell. Let's say the stock went from 100 to like 120 intraday, right? So now you've made your contracts of like 5x or whatever happened. You decide to short, the 120C in the money call to get all your money back and then some, and now you have a free in the money call spread. So like if you just looked at the tape, you would see someone theoretically ask side 10,000 contracts in the morning, and then maybe later in the day you'd see the bid side whatever strike I said, the 120 125. So you would see 2 individual trades, and maybe by the same size you'd be able to reason, oh, maybe that's related. But like it's kind of it's hard to see stuff like that going on unless it's explicitly linked. It's hard to link strategies together. Jignesh asks, do you use the net flow, net volume chat? I assume you mean chart. So yes. So it's a tool. It's a tool like all other tools. Let's see if we can find an example. Also just for this okay, so like, okay, here's a pretty chill example. So okay, so at its core, so let's rewind slightly. So let's look at the flow feed real quick. So any trade, every trade has a bid and an ask and a spot price, right? Every trade. Where the spot price is in relation to the bid and ask will determine whether the side is ask, bid, or mid. So if it's exactly in the middle, like 12 is exactly in the middle of 7 and 17, it will say mid. Given that 9 is closer to 4 than 15, albeit by just 1, it's still closer, so it's going to say bid. In this case, 1141 is closer to 1210 than 1070, but again, still a wide spread. Here in this case, $2, $2.05, $2, relatively tight spread bid. Okay, so back to the chart, or rather, so when the fill is mid, it has no impact on the chart. When the fill is bid, the call line will go down. So given that this is a bid side call that is $9, the line would go down by $9. This one right here, it's an ask side call it's rounding to $1,000. So an ask side call for $1,000. This would move the line up $1,000. So it's actually 1141, but we're just rounding it to 1,000. So the net result of these two transactions, so a $1,000 ask side call and then a $9 bid side call, the net result of these two transactions is the green line going up by 991. So because it's 1,000 up, 9 down. So 991. So if we go to, so knowing that, and it works the same way for puts. So knowing that, if you just look at this chart today, if you just look at this right here and not look at anything else, so don't even look at this chart on the left. If you're just looking at this right here, if you looked at this, you would be able to say, all right, so you'd be able to say that around 11:30, excuse me, around 11:30, there was like a significant around like what 1.3 million ask side transaction, and then at noon there was another, so it went from like what 1.2, I'm just eyeballing it, like 1.2 to 3, so like a 1.8 mil transaction. So just by looking at this, I wouldn't know for certain. So like this chart, this doesn't tell me, it only tells me that there was a few net big ask side activity, right? There could have been, so an increase from 0 to 1.2, just rounding, an increase from 0 right here to 1.2, that could be from exactly 1.2 million ask side call, right? Or it could also be from like a 2.2 million ask side call, a 2.2 million ask side call, and then a minus, and then a million bid side call to drop it down 1 million, resulting in 1.2, right? So I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that the net result of whatever happened here was 1.2 million in ask side call premium. Same thing here. I don't know exactly what happened here, but I know at that when the dust settled, the call premium went from like 1.2 all the way up to 3 or whatever. So knowing that, you might be able to look at FCX, like, so if you see this, you say, oh, okay, you know what? I should probably go look at the FCX. I'm going to look at the FCX option screener or even the contract lookup, right? So I'm just going to the contract lookup. I'm just going to type in FCX. Boom, what do I get here? So I see immediately, like, I mean, this one just stands out like a sore thumb, obviously, because it's so big. We see it's big premium. I see another pretty juicy big premium right here. So we see 1.4. So let's just click into this. So this is what resulted in the big spike earlier in the afternoon or in the morning, right? So the 11:30 spike of 1.2 mil ish was from this, but we don't know for certain if it was an opening trade or not because it's a 2,000 size trade, but there's also 2,000 open interest. So I don't know. This isn't for certain an open or a close, a buy or sell, whatever. We don't know. So this big green line, which tells us nothing, just from this chart alone, you might think, oh shit, like, there's a big bull here. And yes, there is. If you check open interest Monday, let's show. If you check open interest Monday and the open interest is 4,000, then you can say, oh, okay, so all 2,000 of these contracts were opened. Let's see how they filled. They filled exactly on the ask. So I'm there's only one conclusion. The conclusion would be that someone opened at the ask. You would land at the theory that someone bought 2,000 contracts. I don't know if they did for certain, because again, not everything at the bid is a sell. Not everything at the ask is a buy. But if the open interest goes up to 4,000 or even 3,000, because then you would know that a contract handoff took place. Just if the open interest goes up, then you can say, oh, okay, so this was actually possibly significant. All right, so what other FCX activity made that thing go up? So we had that big 45C, but that one was, how much premium was this one? This premium was 4 mil, but the jump was only like, I say only, but the jump was like what, 3 mil maybe? So like there must have been some kind of big bid side activity as well-ish going on. Yeah, I mean, I guess all these like, you know, this quarter mil bid side adds up, quarter mil here, 200K here, 169K here. So, you know, so the chart, this thing can like maybe tip you off to go look, right? I used Tesla as an example earlier. So like, let's look at Tesla. Tesla. In the case of Tesla, like it doesn't really, there's not a whole lot, there's not much information here. I don't know if you heard at the beginning, but I pretty much said that I wouldn't really get much of a read off this one. Let's see if there's some other ones that we can just, some simple ones that we can use just to like, just to educate you on what to think about here. So like here, we do see, you know, this stuff in the morning looks like it maybe could have moved it, but I mean, if you look at it, the total premium of all 21,000 of these is only 200K. The average fill was 9 cents, so like not much of a net impact there. Let's see if there's something else here. Okay, let's just use CSX. This should be a pretty decent example. So CSX, again, if you just look at this chart right here, if you just saw this, you could say, oh, okay, there was some big call activity at around 1 o'clock. So one way would be to just look at the screener and just type in, you know, you could type in CSX and see CSX. You could just type this in and see what stands out to you. Like obviously this stands out like a sore thumb. Alternatively, you can come to the contract explorer, look it up, CSX. Again, this one stands out. Another way to look at it is if you think, where was that thing? If you say to yourself, oh, okay, this jump took place at like 1 o'clock, I can go to the flow feed. I can type in CSX. I can go to, I'll go to like 110 just to be safe. And then if I just type in like 1K, it might come up. Yeah, so there it is. Not on the ass, kind of a mid-ish, close to the mid-fill, but the stuff prior was kind of a jumbled tape. I'm getting off the point here, but anyways, the chart at least tips you off to the fact that there's, you know, a big ass side call in play. Let's find another example. Close some of these extra tabs here. So something like meta might not be too helpful either sometimes. So like, yeah, like there's this going on, but like it's best to actually know actual contracts that are bullish, right? So like, yes, it looks kind of bullish, but like if you don't actually see any contracts, actually, I have an idea. So like you guys probably saw
I was going to suggest the
NVIDIA and 100 strike calls. So we saw these hit. I take your attention to this side right here. So we see 36 mil in calls, ask side calls on the 11th, which is this thing right here. The hover over is annoying, but like, so this activity right here, the 11th of March. What did it look like on the 11th of March? So on the 11th of March, like, yes, we do see. So like, if you just looked at it, let's actually just do that right now. I think I can get there. How do I get there? All right, so we're looking at the net premium chart for the 11th. So if I go back here, so on the 11th at like 10:30 in the morning to 12ish, there was all that 36 mil activity. So like, yes, I do see, like, I know, we know that this happened, right? Because I just went over it. So we see from 10:30 to like 12, like, yes, there was like a pretty solid impact of net activity. But if you just looked at this, you'd have no idea. You might even think, holy shit, like in the morning, there's this guy. Let's actually go back and try to find it right now. So we're looking for March 11th at like we'll say like 949 and change. Excuse me, 949 and change. So I want to go to like 9. Shit, I gotta move that first. We'll go to 950. Just for the sake of finding what we want to find, we'll just go to a put. I want NVIDIA. Let's do like 5K maybe. Probably, fuck it. Let's just go to like 1 mil, see what comes up. All right, so I think we found our culprit from like 946 to 948. So like in 2 minutes, there was on the 139 put expiring next week. There was all that mostly at the ask activity on this put. What happened to the open interest, which was closing activity? So someone probably bought. Yeah. So this is actually another great learning moment, I guess. So again, where would the NVIDIA chart go? So again, that huge jump in put premium at the beginning of the day. Let's just say we're looking at it live, right? I go here, I see, holy shit, this is coming in right now. Let's look at it. All right, so I see again, we wouldn't see all this information right here. We wouldn't even see this chart. We would see a chart from a different day. We would see it, it would look like this. So we would see, oh my God, like, 20,000 volume. It was so far in the money at the time, but we see 20,000 volume, but like, there's a lot of open interest, right? We just went over, someone requested that SPY put. That was like the 480 SPY put for next week. That one had way more open interest in volume. This one, not so much. But if you just look down here, and you can even use the chart, but let's just look down here first. So if you just look at the historical open interest, you come down here and you say, oh, wow, on this day, just a few days ago, there was also 20,000 volume, give or take. The open interest went up 20,000, give or take. I wonder if they are the same person. And lo and behold, the next day, the open interest dropped to such a degree that you could easily determine that they were the same person indeed. So if you look at the chart, someone, if they might have bought these, they might have sold these, who knows? What we do know for 100% certainty is that someone opened a whole bunch of these on this day, and they closed a whole bunch of these on this day. But their close filled at the ask, which made the chart jump like this, when in fact this activity, it's meaningless-ish. I mean, it depends. Like, right? If this was a long position that someone closed, then it could be bullish, right? Oh, someone just banked on their NVIDIA puts and now they're closing up shop. Or the alternative could be someone got smoked and they're now closing it up. But either way, just by looking at this chart, you'd have no idea, right? We just did like 2 seconds, not 2 seconds, I'm exaggerating, like 2 minutes of research, and we found out that this was probably not anything that we really needed to be concerned about, right? And then again, on the 11th, all this crazy flow right here, like it doesn't really stand out. Like, yeah, there's, it comes up here, but it doesn't stand out like crazy. It doesn't stand out as much as this. I can tell you that much, right? We can all agree there. So I think that's a pretty good example. So you can't just blindly look at this and say, oh, the put premium went up. I bet someone bought puts. Like maybe they did. All we know for certain is that some ask side puts took place right here. Another thing that the chart doesn't tell you is whether or not the activity is multi-leg or not. So like, let's see here. If I just take 2 seconds to look for a big multi-leg roll, kind that we see very frequently. Probably if I just type in like Tesla, it'll come up. So we see quite frequently these like 4-legger things that like I don't think have any directionality, any meaning to them at all. It's just some big hedge fund's way of doing whatever they need to do, right? People way smarter than us came up with this, whatever they're doing. Oh, so we see 4 fills. These 2 ones that are expiring today are being closed like 100%. These ones that are expiring next week are being opened 100%. But you can see that, so we have a mid-fill right here, which, like I said earlier, 5 minutes ago, would have no impact on the net premium. So this would have no impact. Underneath that, we have a bid side call for 4.15 million. So this transaction reduces the net premium chart, the call line, by 4.15 million. These 2 are just so small, so like we won't even talk about them. But this like super complex trade that like probably doesn't actually mean anything dropped the call premium 4.5 mil or 4.15 mil on the 14th at 11:15. So let's see if we can see that in the impact. What time did I say it was? 11:15. So you can't even see it because like so much other shit happened. Yeah, so 4:15 is like right here, or 11:15 is right here. I said 11:15, right? Yeah, 11:15. So 11:15 is like right there. So you can see just like a tiny pixel drop right there. Like that's all that was. Like Tesla, like I said, Tesla. There's just so much stuff going on. It's hard to read. All right. So yeah, I think I went on a tangent there to talk about like 10 different things, but that was whatever started that. That was all good, pretty good information, I think. So yeah, just a lot of things to think about. Not everything is as it seems. And again, remember, like, let's just say you're looking at the feed and you only see this leg, right? Let's say you only see someone opening, like you only see the bid side call for 262 strike, 10,000 contracts, 4 mil. You think, oh my God, like, this Tesla is never going to get across this. Someone's shorting it this hard. But no, actually, it's just a large multi-leg trade. Like I said, someone who makes way more money than we do mathematically crafted this shit to like do whatever. Like I said. All right. I guess if there's like any last minute questions, feel free to rattle them off before we all go and enjoy our weekends.
Give me a hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jignesh asks, that particular Tesla trade, should we not focus on the 4.1 mil only? So yeah, exactly. Like it's a 4-legged trade. So it's not only is it a 4-legged trade, but it's like a complex, super complex 4-legged trade. It looks like, so I guess actually if we look back, we might even be able to see, no, bad example. Let me try to find an example where like you can kind of see, and this shit happens all the time, right? Here's another example probably. So this was from yesterday. This is today's candle. So let's see. Yesterday, you can see these big 8,000 size candle on 4 contracts. Again, just a weird thing. I don't know exactly what they're doing. You can actually see the entry. So the entry was back on the 7th. So they're rolling to the 321. So like there's no earlier activity to look at here. But if you look at the contracts that they rolled out of, you can see where they entered. So like this stuff it's crazy complicated. There's so much stuff that just like doesn't mean anything. Like again, this trade involved like I can't do the math here. Like over 5.5 million in premium, but like it's actually just nothing, right? But like someone might see like this and say, oh my God, like someone's doing whatever. They're not. Who knows? Yes, sometimes the contract goes up and you make money, but like you didn't make money because you read it right. You made money because you got lucky. You know what I mean? Lecky or let me scroll back up here. So Pezmed asks, is there an easy way to filter those kind of multi-leg trades that we don't care about, or you just have to look? You just have to look, honestly, unfortunately. So like if let's just go to the filter. So if you use the big multi-leg filter, I mean there's going to be a lot of them. Yeah, honestly, you just have to look. It's unfortunate. Luck asks, any chance to do a vid going over Periscope? Yep, I think Dan should be doing that. There's one that we just posted, but more should be coming.
Yep, one already posted. I threw it in the chat there as well for you guys to click it. And next week I'll be doing a real-time use case video on it as well, win or lose.
Right. Last wrap-up cues. That wasn't me. That's not me. That's not me. My batteries are good. How do you do that thing? Hold on.
Hold up.
Opens soundboard.
Baby.
Nice. All right. All right. I think that'll be it.
Yeah, this is devolving.
All right. I'm gonna sign off here. See you guys. Have a good weekend.
God.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys. All right, everybody, I'm going to close this out. As I told the folks in the Discord server, I'll be doing a new video on live action using Periscope to scalp, like the one that I did this morning. Just for context, this was that one right here. Pretty simple concepts. If you watch the video that Dan made, it explains kind of how these gamma levels function. In the case here that I played, I noticed heavy negative gamma exposure at 5600. Now, the way this model predicts is as we move into a negative gamma situation, market makers delta hedge, which leads them to buy into the strength of the upside. Now, the reciprocal of that would also be true based on this model. As you're moving downward toward GEX levels, toward this high gamma exposure, market makers would hedge into that by selling into the weakness. Today, it just so happened we had a nice bullish situation going pretty much from open to close. And I was able to catch this one. I just took about 11 points on it on SPX. Nothing insane. But I'll be doing a video of that in real time, so it's not just those good old-fashioned hindsight capital things where you're like, here's what happened, and I totally did it. I'll show you real time that I'm doing it. And even if I lose, I mean, there's no such thing as a 100% hit rate strategy on anything. That doesn't exist. It's not real. Any furu saying it's real is lying to you. Don't give them your money. So I'll show you how I use it next week live. I'll trade SPX or futures, one of the two, whichever comes to mind first. And I'll show you how I use it. It's not the only thing I use. I use short-term time frames, price action as well. But I use Periscope and I use the market tide for context when I'm doing so. And does it win every time? Hell no. That's not a thing. Things don't win all the time. It's not possible. But win or lose, I'll show you how I use it next week. Thanks for kicking it with us, folks. I am going to bounce here as well. If you came in late, this stream will be directly here on the YouTube page so you can see how Snorlax built out all of those filters that he covered. And you can go back through how he's doing his breakdowns of flow reading. Thanks for kicking it, folks. Catch you next.